Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mostly Star Wars podcast. We are super excited to talk all things Obi-Wan Kenobi and episode 4. But before we get into that, we are going to introduce our normal trio of hosts. First, we have mostly Darth, Tyler,
How's it going?
and we got crazy Quinton.
Hello, everybody.
And then we have, as always, myself, mostly Martinez, Josiah. But also today, we are very excited about our special guest. He's known in all the Nintendo social circles and the host of the hot new podcast entitled, and let me see if I can do this title justice here, off the wah, a Nintendo podcast, sweeping the nation. Definitely got to check out his content if you are into all things Nintendo. However, we know him because of his love and passion for Star Wars, and we are honored to welcome the one and only, the man behind the cappy, too famous to show his face, Presto the Magnificent, aka Preston to the council chambers. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
Yes. We are super excited to have you on. Thank you so much for being with us today. So if you've seen our first episode, our pilot episode, and when we had our first guest on, Seth from the All In Nintendo podcast, the way that we kind of do it with guests is we're going to have our good friend Quinton ask you some questions about Star Wars, get to know a little bit more about you when it comes to Star Wars, and me and Tyler get to sit back and enjoy the ride.
All right.
You know, you say sit back and enjoy the ride, but I'm pretty sure you butted in a lot last time, so
this is
feel
also
free to
true.
do the same. All right, Presto. So the first question we have for our guests is, what is your first Star Wars memory?
My first Star Wars memory was I watched New Hope with my family. My dad had it on a disc, probably. We watched New Hope, and then we started watching Empire Strikes Back, and my mom was like, "That's too violent. He's 7 years old," or whatever, and they turned it off. So my first Star Wars memory is watching New Hope and then trying to watch Empire, and it didn't go over well with my parents.
All right. So our next question is, why do you like Star Wars?
Well, I really like all the story and the lore. I mean, obviously, laser fights and light swords, those are great. But my favorite part of Star Wars is when, like, in Rebels, where they explore the world between worlds and all that stuff. Or in Clone Wars, all the lore and crazy Force stuff. That's my favorite part of Star Wars.
All right, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in those stories. What is your favorite prequel?
This one's not controversial at all. Revenge of the Sith.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Revenge of the Sith. It's been talked about a million times. It's just an amazing movie.
That's a pretty unanimous vote between the three of you there. Okay, what is your favorite original trilogy movie?
I like Empire Strikes Back because just the way that the bad guys kind of win at the end, it's a good movie. It's sort of like Infinity War almost, where you have the bad guys win, and it kind of leaves a cliffhanger for the next movie.
No.
That's why Infinity War is my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Same
I
here.
like that.
All right, here's a little more of a controversial topic, but what is your favorite sequel movie?
Can I say a movie from Disney Star Wars era and say Rogue One, or is that illegal?
We'll see. I'd say it has to be one of the three sequels, because otherwise I would totally agree with you on that one, and they won't let me do that, so I can't let you.
Okay, then probably Force Awakens, because it felt like the start of a new adventure. It was going to be a great thing until The Last Jedi.
I like how you said it was. Finally somebody who agrees with me.
Yeah, I think he did say that. It was going to be.
Well, remember the hype.
Okay. Hi, what is or who is your favorite Star Wars character?
This one's a lesser known one, but Ezra Bridger. I just
Nice.
really like him as a character. His whole character growth throughout the entire series is great, and I really want to see him show up in something like Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I definitely would agree with that. Ezra's a great character.
His character growth is crazy all over the map, from a scavenger to want to help people to I want more power to all I can do is help people now.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of great character growth there.
Mm-hmm.
What upcoming project are you most looking forward to in Star Wars?
This is also a bit of an oddball. Acolyte. I love when you have completely new characters and eras to something. That's
good. Yeah.
Yeah. It just looks so interesting. You got Sith Acolyte in the High Republic era. I need to read the High Republic books.
That'll be fun to explore, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ahsoka is a close second, of course, because I love Clone Wars and Rebels.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, well, that about wraps up all of our guest questions today.
Sweet.
All right, well, let's talk about the episode then.
Let's get into it.
Who wants to start?
Yeah, I could jump right in. I think, right at the beginning, we have the back to tanks, which is very familiar, to all Star Wars fans. But this was kind of a little bit of an interesting one because it's kind of doing flashes between both Obi-Wan and Vader. And I thought that was kind of interesting because, we see kind of in like Boba Fett, right? How when he's in the back to tank, he's kind of like having visions, nightmares, remembering, traumatic moments, things like that while he's in there. And so it kind of flashes back a little bit to that. It seems like both Obi-Wan and perhaps even Vader are having similar feelings in the back to tank. Yeah. But then it almost gives you like that they could sense each other, so that was kind of a really
that
cool
was my question. Are they like, do they know that each other is there? Is it like, I hate to go back to The Last Jedi, but Rey and Kylo communicating in that movie almost?
I like that point. I like that idea. That's an interesting idea. If they're communicating, not necessarily communicating, but like you said, sensing each other. And I think Vader is annoyed that he lost track of him and that he's getting healed up.
And Obi-Wan is very scared.
And yeah, Obi-Wan is afraid of Vader, but he's also worried about Leia.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, his first question was, "Where's Leia?" when he came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting one. And I kind of thought about that a little bit too. If they were both having like, their own versions of, tremors or whatever in the Force, or if there was some sort of connection, because I was kind of thinking, I wonder if Obi-Wan was getting scared that there started to be a connection, and that's why he jumped out of the tank.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point because you can track Jedi through the Force. Mm-hmm. Like in episode 6 of The Mandalorian, when Grogu called out using the Force. And was connected.
That's
true. There are multiple other times where Jedi have tracked other Force users have tracked other Force users using the Force.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, more lore.
Interesting.
Obi-Wan could be worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of parallels to Last Jedi in this episode, actually, because like when he pops out of the tank and he's like, "Where's Leia?" It instantly reminded me of Finn waking up and being, "Where's Rey?"
Oh yeah,
that's an interesting point. For someone who doesn't like The Last Jedi, you're making a lot of points to it.
Connections to it.
Well, just like that was in episode 3, they had the connection with Obi-Wan telling Leia that that's not how the Force works, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so I think that was a pretty epic intro, and definitely, gave connections like across lots of movies and shows and stuff like that. I think that the next thing that we see when he gets out, you start kind of seeing a little bit more of an organized piece of the path, I guess you could say. There's definitely multiple people versus when we first saw a piece of the path, right? It was basically just Tala and our good robot friend. But besides that, this we're actually really seeing there's multiple people involved. It's not like a one-man show on every piece of the path. So that's kind of the next thing. I guess I could leave it up to you guys if you want to start talking a little bit about that. But I thought that was cool. You actually see the path like in a little more organized way.
I kind of, I just wanted to mention one thing, and I kind of stole this from the Force Center podcast, which I've always listened to, and they've got great takes and everything. But Joseph mentioned that, and I kind of I felt this exact way. He says that confronting expectations is the destiny of a Star Wars fan, just like confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. And I kind of had to deal with that my own when I was first watching this episode, because while I liked the episode, I initially was expecting like to see more of the path. I wanted to see, I was hopeful that maybe you'd see Quinlan Voss and stuff, and you'd get more of kind of that. And so at first I had to kind of like, okay, well, I have to engage with the story that we're given, not my own expectations of where I wanted it to go.
Yeah, over
And
the whole episode, it kind of felt more like the rebellion than the path. Like even the one person was wearing like, it was more of a resistance helmet, but they were wearing like a rebellion helmet, and it just felt like a mission that you would see in Rebels, where you have to go rescue the captured person.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing, but it was interesting that they were giving off those vibes, but they were more, once again, like that they're sticking to the path thing, that their focus is on like hiding and saving people versus like doing these full-on missions. And so I kind of thought the same thing too. It seemed like they were almost like rebels or resistance fighters, but then their actions proved otherwise at the beginning, at least.
Well, like you see in Rebels, there's different cells of the rebellion. It's not all one organization working together doing the exact same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that these guys could be part of the rebellion, or this is really early on. The rebellion's still building, so this could be a small group that ends up being part of the rebellion. But I like that one line where Obi-Wan says that he needs their help. And he goes, so does every kid floating a rock between here and Coruscant.
Yeah.
That was such a good line.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Maybe he was a Jedi.
Because he calls ObiWan General, and it's a real interesting point there. What is their relationship?
I mean, he's probably not a clone, seeing as it wasn't Tamara Morrison.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting.
Go
ahead, Preston.
The whole path thing was really interesting. I'd love to see like a series that's just focused on the path, and each episode is like another Jedi getting to safety, or sometimes not.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, I think the path definitely like could be its own series for sure, and even with people that aren't even Force sensitive, like I think we were talking about this character here, that he was married to someone that was force sensitive, right? And I think there was a lot left unsaid. Obviously, those are emotions that he's still going through and dealing with, but I've thought that was interesting that they left it a mystery. Was this just someone kind of force sensitive? Was this one trained, someone trained as a Jedi? Was it a Jedi? There's lots of kind of questions there. And I feel like that may be a good explanation as to why he knew that who Obi-Wan was in the first place, but then also that, he was a general and, was, many people referred to him as a general, right? General Kenobi. So I feel like that might have possibly been something as well, that maybe his wife in some way had a closer connection to Obi-Wan, than he did.
One thing I thought that was interesting though is that he didn't say it. You'd think if someone was like blaming him, you'd say it with disrespect. He didn't say it with disrespect. He was. I felt like it was a respectful general. He was giving him his rank that he believed.
It was very respectful, and just like the whole way that all of them are talking to him, because they know how hard he worked for the Republic and for freedom and such.
Yeah, and I do think, he was definitely, I don't think that it was like a sly remark or anything like that, but I do love that moment because we're kind of getting that throughout the series, right? Obi-Wan was kind of like closed off, from the Force and the world in general, right? But he's slowly getting these different moments, and we're going to talk about a couple of big ones later in this episode, but I think this was a really big one for someone to like look him in the eye and say, you don't think that someone like me would understand what, the Empire can do? Let me tell you a little bit about how I know. And I think it was a really good learning lesson for Obi-Wan as well, that it's not just, the Jedi and, a couple of Sith Lords and Palpatine, right? This has a farther reach. The Empire is affecting a lot more people than just his specific mission. And so I thought that was a kind of big moment there for Obi-Wan as well, that he's sitting there looking at someone eye to eye, say the Empire, the Inquisitors killed my wife, or at least took her. So
yeah, I thought that point was interesting too, because I mean, it's a little speculation. I kind of don't think it's true, but I've seen people speculate. Well, could his wife have been Riva?
Oh
man.
Oh
No, man. Oh man.
I don't know if it really works because
was
just their age and
he wasn't one of the people at the end of the episode, right? He stayed at the base the whole time, correct?
Right.
So was he in the ship that picked him up?
I don't. Oh, you mean
yeah.
in the?
I think he was, because
in the larger
asked,
ship. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he asks Sully where Wade is, and that's where Tala says, "I guess your shoulders after all."
Yeah, but that he didn't see Riva at all though.
No.
So technically, that theory's still on the table.
Yeah. They didn't see.
That's possible. I feel like he's older than her though, which doesn't mean much, but I do feel like he's older. I think Riva's still more like in the late teens. If we're assuming she's the one at the Jedi Temple 10 years prior.
Let's say she was 10. If it's 10 years older, she's at least like 20.
Yeah.
And he's like 30. I mean, it's possible. I feel like, and this is going to jump a little bit ahead, that
it's
one of those.
He's one of the dead ones. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the ones in like that amber goo.
In the tomb.
Or one of the tomb women. I think that might be more of a possibility.
That was my thought as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to say.
That's some good speculation, though. I liked that. Man, I like going down the speculation
that legit,
hole.
Like blew my mind when you said Riva. I was like, oh my goodness, that blows my mind, because it does make me think at Celebration when they asked the actress about her character and stuff, and she said that she's loyal, right? What was it, that she's loyal, and she's loyal to in ways that might surprise you?
I actually have a theory. I have a theory for that.
Okay.
So, what if her goal in getting close to Darth Vader is not to get higher up in the Empire's ranks? What if she's trying to kill Darth Vader and take his place?
Well, that would be a quick duel.
I would say that I kind of like that theory, but I don't think it would be.
Yeah.
I don't think she's not nearly strong enough.
I mean, he almost killed her in this episode. He was about to kill her until she whispered that I let him go.
Right. I was gonna say he had her. If he wanted to, she would have been gone.
Well, let's just be honest for a second here. Vader can have anyone right now if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's it right now.
So what I'm hearing is Riva's weak and Kenobi's weak.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
both of them.
I think Kenobi's growing.
Darth Vader.
I think Kenobi is reconnecting, and you see a lot of that in this episode where he goes from in this episode alone, goes from barely being able to move a block across the table to are you reading chat?
Yeah.
Where he goes, okay, I'll get to that, but I'm gonna
Oh, Seth.
But he goes from barely being able to move the block across the table, and then he has to hold the ocean from coming in through the window, and then he redirects it. He's already gaining. And another thing too, I've seen people talk about like not liking the lightsaber style, the way Obi-Wan's using his lightsaber and stuff. But I also feel like that's kind of the same thing. It looks to me like he's obviously very rusty, and he doesn't have very much finesse to using it. It's very just strong-willed and not as like finesse like he used to have in episode 3 when he was using it regularly, and I feel like that's another thing he's building it back. Okay, let's address chat there, Josiah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so let's start with, so this is also a theory. So possibly from Seth here in the chat, what if Dexter Jetster becomes Vader's new Grand Inquisitor?
That's going to be an awkward hug between him and Obi-Wan.
So he goes on to say, a saber in each one of his arms, Grievous style.
General
Quinton
Kenobi
says trained in the Jedi arts. Seth goes on to say, imagine the sharp betrayal Obi-Wan would feel in that moment. His old friend. Oh, man.
No, the scene would go exactly like it did with Grievous and him. Hello there, General Kenobi.
Oh man, that's amazing. No, I'm just gonna jump back to kind of what you were saying in this episode. I love that they filmed the moment he was trying to move that little piece across the table, whatever that was at the beginning, and he was struggling just doing that. And it kind of shows like throughout the episode that he's kind of gaining, like you said. And then even with his lightsaber towards the end, first he's kind of like, he's not very controlled. Like he's hitting places all over, he's hitting the shots all over, and doesn't look very like clean, like his, the way that he's doing it, right? But then he's able to, direct one perfectly to close the door, which was awesome. And then we see him do like his classic like swirl spin with his saber, and then he redirects one from behind himself and hits one of the troopers with it. So you can kind of start to see his confidence level gaining, even just within like his swordsmanship, right? And so like I think like you're saying, it is cool because there's a difference between, you know, him slowly gaining it but also having confidence in it. So he's getting his power back, but he's also getting his confidence. And the other thing to note is when he was on his way there, he was by himself and there's no danger. Now he's in imminent danger, and he has Leia right there with him, and Tala's life basically in his hands as well. And that's where he's able to draw back on the force and get that confidence, and really like he's starting to get a little bit of swagger back, which is awesome. Because if we do see another Obi-Wan Vader battle, I would like him to have some swagger back, you know, and not just running around scared.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the point where we were saying like Riva's weak and Obi-Wan's weak, but unlike I don't Riva's not getting any more powerful, at least not in this moment, I don't believe.
but
Whereas
Obi-Wan is.
but Obi-Wan is just reconnecting to everything he's already known and done, and I think he will be by the end of the episode almost to Vader's power. Obviously, was never as powerful as Anakin and never where Vader could get, but he obviously beat him in episode 3.
And
So
I
I
mean,
think go ahead.
the final fight has to end with somebody running away because they can't both die. So it
Yep.
could be it could be Obi-Wan, but it could also be Vader if Obi-Wan gets strong enough, because he already beat him once.
Exactly, and yeah, you're right. It's gonna. I'm sure it'll end somehow with someone either just leaving or escaping, or who knows what. Maybe Vader leaves him for dead and thinks he's dead, just like Obi-Wan did.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
poetry.
that's more realistic. Yeah. And
It's like
I think
poetry, it
since,
rhymes.
yeah, so many people have talked about it too, you know, just when they see each other later, you know, in the original trilogy, just the lines in the way they talk to each other, that he says, "When I left you." I think that's such a big thing for so many people. I feel like they're going to make sure that that plays through. And so Vader is going to leave him. And so, like you guys said, I think that would make the most sense. And you know, the poetry of it would be so amazing if he leaves basically Obi-Wan to die, and feeling he was dead, just like, you know, Obi-Wan did to him. He didn't verify that he was dead. Vader doesn't verify that Obi-Wan's dead either, and leaves.
I think the
Who
reason
would
why
have to recover him then?
What was that?
What?
You can go.
I was just saying, I don't think Obi-Wan checked to see if he was alive in Revenge of the Sith, mainly just because he couldn't bear it. Like, he just didn't have it in him to finish the job, really.
Yeah. And I think our discussion that we had on that, we kind of brought that up too, in the fact that Obi-Wan told Yoda, "I can't kill him," and he didn't. So he was telling Yoda the truth. It like, don't make me face him because I can't kill him. Sorry. And so I feel like it's probably obviously not going to be the same feelings from Vader, but I feel like it would more have to be something along the lines of, he's like, there's no possible way that he could survive whatever it is, and he wants him to suffer. And so he's going to allow him to suffer through something until he dies. And whatever the reasoning be, him have to leave or him leave willingly. But the other thing, you know, to continually think about is, you know, rumor mill continues that there is a possibility of more Obi-Wan. So if that's the case, then we may not see 100% of a finale that we're looking for.
I don't like that.
I think that you're going to see the 100% finale, but that doesn't mean they can't just make another season.
Yeah, if the second season doesn't really deal with Darth Vader at all, then that would be fine. Like, that could end with the Darth Maul fight in the desert from Rebels. That would be cool to see in live action.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
One thing, we can get to the Jedi Tomb. and Terrace Anube.
Yeah, that was sad to see that.
Sadness.
He was so good in Clone Wars. He's one of the coolest Jedi. He's got a lightsaber in his cane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
it was
And-
pretty cool to see him live action though.
Yeah,
His
I was just sad that he was dead.
created. Yeah, and I kind of looked into it. I couldn't find any other officially named Jedi in that tomb.
Mm-hmm.
Were you guys able? Do you guys see any or read about any that are officially confirmed in there?
No, not officially
No.
confirmed. I saw a couple of people like have theories, but that's really as much as there is. And I feel like I can't remember who I saw. Somebody had kind of like a recap video of this episode as well, and they had a couple of theories about a few of the people in there. But the problem that they were saying is if it is any of those people, that it would be strange for Obi-Wan to walk right by them.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
Well,
there was the rumor of one of them being Mace Windu, and
Yeah,
I saw a bald
watched it.
guy. And I was like, Mace Windu?
Yep, you see it, and it's like you said, it would be strange for Obi-Wan to not have more of a reaction to seeing Mace Windu in a tomb like that.
okay. One thing
Mhm.
But
though,
there's a lot of them because when you see him walking away at the end, there's a whole second layer of them up top that you didn't see who's in them. So they've got a lot of Jedi down there.
I'd say one of them is probably Rogan, his wife. I think that was his name. But
mhm.
yeah,
I
so
think so too.
two Jedi
Well,
that we know of.
how many? Or I'm sorry. What do you guys think that those Jedi are alive at all, or are they dead and entombed?
I think that they're a little bit alive just because they need to extract blood for experiments with cloning and such.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it has something to do. They're in some sort of suspended stasis, and like you said, maybe they are unconscious. But I feel like they are in somehow some sort of suspended animation, I guess, if you will. So because of cloning, and we know moving forward in the Star Wars history, cloning is going to be a bigger deal when it comes to the Sith. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think they're just going to stay there for like 4 million years, and then a space biologist is going to find them and then extract blood from them and make Jurassic Park space.
You're gonna hatch like Jedi eggs.
Yes.
no, I
how
think
about that? The one guy that's like with that crazy like hat headdress thing or whatever. That was kind of an interesting character that was in there.
Yeah.
one thing I know you mentioned he would have more of a reaction if it was Mace Windu, but I think one of the things that I noticed is the last person he looks at is the youngling. And that's right when you hear Leia screaming, and he probably hears her. I'm assuming he hears her as well. And so
I'm pretty sure that's one of the younglings from the first episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
But my point is that he sees, and that kind of reminds him of like, oh, I've got a youngling I need to go get, and she's in trouble, and I need to stop worrying about what this is, because it is what it is. It looks like a tomb.
Just
at least to him.
Just completely doesn't notice Mace Windu at all. Just walks right past him.
Yeah, I can't see it. And then the other thing is, I saw somebody else say this too, and I didn't notice it till the second time I watched it. But he does have a right hand, which obviously there's robotics and stuff like that. And
why would they put a robotic hand on a dead body?
Yeah, I'm saying like Mace could have later, fixed his hand and everything, and then got caught. It is a possibility, but I was like, it is kind of interesting. They filmed it in like 100% of a way that you could see the right hand. So I was like, they were like doing it on purpose that you could see that he had a right hand. And then the other thing that I thought would be really funny, but he's not in the credits, is if it was Samuel L. Jackson in there.
Right.
You know, it is just him, but he's like in like a
You know, he wants to
stand-in,
do
you know?
stuff, but I feel
Yeah.
like if you're gonna bring him back, they're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be
Well,
in,
I also
and,
feel
and he
like-
wasn't even a cameo that they saw. Like you said, if he was Mace Windu, I feel like they would have paused on him at least.
Yeah, and I feel like Mace Windu, injured or not, is too powerful for any Inquisitor
Yeah.
to fight. I don't think there's any Inquisitors that we know of that were powerful enough to fight Mace Windu. Even multiple of them at once. Because Mace Windu was one of the most powerful Jedi, especially at the time of Order 66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see, Old Man Maul and Ahsoka just owning Inquisitors in Rebels. So I don't think, 3 or 4 Inquisitors couldn't take Mace Windu. It would have to be Vader.
Or
And if
the
Vader
whole-
did that, I don't
Yeah,
think they'd be a prize in the Inquisitorius.
Yeah, it would have to be like all of the Inquisitors attacking him at once.
Yeah,
Even
so it looks
so.
like, let's see, Preston, you were bringing up that the little boy looked like someone from the beginning. It
Yeah.
is there. It's the same actor. That actor that's in there is the same actor from the first episode.
I knew it.
So it is that same kid, at least one of those same kids. So that being the case, that's pretty interesting that they got that kid 10 years ago. So they've had this tomb down there doing whatever they've been doing for at least for 10 years, which
Yeah.
actually is kind of interesting when you think about it.
That's true, because he looks the same as he did when Order 66 happened, which means that fortress must have built like right after the Empire was made, which makes sense because that's one of the first things that Palpatine needs to focus on, hunting down all of the remaining Jedi. And so he starts getting Jedi younglings and other Force users. I think Riva is one of those younglings as well. So Riva decided to join.
agree.
Yeah, Riva decided to join them, and this kid is just like, no, I will never join you. That's what I'm inferring.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if that's the case, I had another question about that too. Was Riva going to do to Leia whatever they're all in, or was she going to torture her a different way?
At first, I thought it was just like normal torture, but then I realized that was actually my thought as I was watching the episode. Is like she could have been trying to amberify her because she was just angry. She was mad that this little girl was getting the better of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was probably more regular torture. Because she's still
torture.
Just regular torture.
Just regular torture.
Well, you can hear the droid buzzing just like from A New Hope.
Uh-huh.
So I think she's trying to torture her and get the information out of her.
Yeah,
I'd say you can go.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say something that was a bit off topic, but I think that the main problem with this episode is we didn't get any backstory for Riva. We are 4 episodes into the 6-episode series, and we don't know why she's doing what she's doing. What are her intentions? What is her character?
I don't fully agree with that, just because there are a couple moments where when she takes Lola, the droid, which actually, fun fact, I just found this out today, but Carrie Fisher had a bird when she was a kid, and it was named Lola.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
I'm pretty sure that's not right. I looked that up after I found out that fact, and there is a picture of her holding her pet bird, but it's not named Lola.
It's named
you sure?
Layla.
Layla.
I'm
No, I don't know.
Beth Moon. Right?
Oh, I thought you were being serious. Oh,
I looked into that because I thought that was too good of a thing, and it turns out it was too good to be true.
Well, now I'm bummed.
Dang.
Yeah, I was too. Sorry.
Speaking of,
but wait, I wanted to.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to say, because that moment that I was trying to talk about is that Riva says that I had a droid too when I was younger, and it was
Yeah.
taken from me just like everything else was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we know everything's taken from her, but I kind of want elaboration. I want to know exactly what happened to the character.
Yeah, I'd like
Mhm.
to see like some flashbacks, of her younger, and then even maybe like a few years prior. Maybe not even like fully when she's a kid, but even like a few years prior as she's, because obviously she would, didn't become an inquisitor when she was 10.
Yeah.
So, maybe mid
Yeah.
I was just saying, like,
late teens.
I mean, they could have became Inquisitors when they're 10. I mean, Jedi they get taken to the temple when they're real young.
I don't think that they get like the role
kid
of
was dead at
Inquisitor.
age 10.
No,
Yeah,
but
they
she could have
were-
been
they were-
indoctrinated.
Yeah, they could
Training.
have been training.
Yeah, she could have been like training to be one. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see the scene where she joins the dark side, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be good.
I would like that. What I kind of worry about is if it goes off too much on Riva, the whole Twitter world is going to explode of how the Obi-Wan show isn't about Obi-Wan.
Well, that's why it would have been perfect to put in this episode, because it's a shorter episode compared to the
Yeah.
rest of them.
Yeah.
You could have just opened it up with the backstory of Riva, and then go into the back to tank scene.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. Okay, Josiah,
and then-
you had something
I
you
was-
wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I was gonna mention that since we were talking about Lola, that I didn't even notice this either until someone brought it up. But at the very beginning intro, they added the robot or
They
whatever,
added
and
Lola and Ned B.
yeah, they added them.
They took out the mouse droid, and I'm sad.
Yeah, so they added those two in there, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a interesting, little bonus.
Does anyone
Yeah.
not like
Added
that
that in
intro? That intro is so good.
Yeah,
I know, it's so amazing. It makes all of them look like so good too.
it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
That's
since we
one
were...
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, since we were kind of talking about things that maybe we would have done differently in this episode, one thing that I would have hoped for, once again, you actually just mentioned it, but the episode was shorter, and whenever you have a shorter episode, it's hard to really build. There's not very much character building, especially if it's a brand new character in an episode that's like 30 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the one thing for me that I wished, if this episode was longer and we could have got a little bit more of all of the people, like the resistance fighters, the people on the path, or whatever,
Yeah.
the organizers of the path, because I feel like it was such an awesome moment, like we had already talked about, where he was talking about being married to possibly even a Jedi, and then later too, obviously what they end up doing at the end is huge and it's a big deal, and then somebody loses their life in the course of this mission or whatever. I think there's a really big missed opportunity. If there could have even been a moment which obviously, Obi-Wan's like, I'm going no matter what, and even if I'm not fully healed, I'm going. But I feel like there's a missed opportunity of them sitting down at a table to eat and then having some more discussions, getting to know these characters a little bit better. Like when the person died at the end, I was like, who was that even? Like, I don't even remember who that was. And like I didn't, not that, that sounds bad to be like, I don't even care, but it, like, I didn't have any emotional connection. Like, oh man, not that guy. And oh man, he had a beautiful wife and those little girls or whatever, and he was such a good dad, and what, you know what I mean? Like you missed out on that opportunity where he could have been, these little kids could have ran up to him and jumped on his lap and been like, daddy, and whatever. And then maybe him like leaving and like not, the wife being like, if you go, you better be safe and all this type of stuff and whatever, you know what I mean? There's like a little bit more feeling, I think, that they missed out on.
It didn't feel as sad.
Yeah,
because
totally.
Because they didn't expand on the character enough. I also didn't know who it was. It's like, oh, Wade died. Who?
Yeah, Wade. I forgot what his name was. Poor Wade. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny you touched on that because that's kind of my biggest gripe with all modern movies. I hate watching disaster movies because they basically always start right at the beginning of the disaster.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want Peter Jackson's King Kong. It's 3 hours. Yes, it's really long. It's 3 hours and 8 minutes long. But it takes 45 minutes for them to even get to the island. That's all just 45 minutes of character building.
Yeah.
And even small parts. And so I agree with you here in this instance. I think if you look, because I rewatched the episode a couple times, where you see the connection is between the two of them, between Sully and Wade, and because she's like, well, we're not soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
and so at that end of like when she tells Roken that Wade dies, I felt like it's a little insensitive, Tala, to say, well, I guess you're soldiers now. Like that. I mean, it's true, but it was a little harsh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I did think that was kind of interesting, and it's kind of funny because when I was thinking about it later, like in that whole scene, right, what would have been more impactful? And I was like, I feel like if Tala sacrificed herself at the end and she died, I was like, I feel like that would have been like, whoa, that's huge. And
Yeah.
then it would even more so be like, okay, now what's going to happen? She was kind of like the main person, like helping Obi-Wan through this whole situation. Now he's getting thrown into like one person who doesn't even really want to help him, who's kind of like, sour to the situation. And then a bunch of young people who, like Tala mentioned, aren't soldiers or anything like that. They're just like do-gooder, people with no experience. So I feel like that maybe could have been even more of like, oh man, what's going to happen next? Because now he's with a bunch of unexperienced people. Whereas now, I mean, Tala's still there and she has lots of experience. So they can continue to play off that.
The thing kind of is, in any good story, death needs to have consequence. Like, slight spoilers for towards the end of Rebels, Kanan dying. That was very significant to the plot, very significant to the story. There are multiple episodes which were just characters dealing with that death. Whereas Wade dying, it's just like, oh, guess you're soldiers now. It didn't feel as impactful, I guess you could
True,
say.
but I mean, are we gonna sit here and say, well, there was no character building for those stormtroopers? those two that were protecting Leia. I mean, what were their stories? Those poor guys just got assassinated.
Yeah, did you
They
guys
were
have
just trying to make a living to pay for their families.
Yeah, or did you guys see the two stormtroopers talking when Obi-Wan was like sneaking through? And like one of them says something like, "It's creepy working here," or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then someone's like, "I hope we get transferred soon."
Yeah. Yeah, I watched that.
It's creepy.
I watched it because
I keep the floor that shiny.
I didn't notice it the first time, but I rewatched it and then I turned. I think I did. Q suggested I turned the subtitles on like my third viewing or whatever. And yeah, they're like, I hope we get transferred off soon. It was the funniest thing.
That's about the same amount of character building, to be honest, as Wade.
I'd say it's almost more than Wade.
Yeah, because that's sad. He had so
Honestly.
much. He had all of his hopes and dreams to get transferred.
I need a
And then he gets
backstory
flooded
movie
away.
for every. I need a backstory for every stormtrooper in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Well, George tried to do that. They just said they're clones. That's their backstory.
Yeah.
But
But then they're like,
at least
they're not
clone
clones.
troopers anyway.
All the clones died, and now they're all stormtroopers. Yes, I'm gonna call them storms now.
Oh, I like that.
Do
Go
you see
ahead.
that question in the chat? I think we could jump onto that real quick. Lola said, "Which one do you recommend that I look at first, Boba Fett or Obi-Wan?"
Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is just a better show so far, in my opinion. Boba
It
is
depends.
really good.
You know, I agree with the fact that Obi-Wan has definitely been a better show so far.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're Lola, if you really enjoyed The Mandalorian, then you're gonna enjoy Boba Fett. And it's already a complete
especially
series. You
episode
could
5.
it's already a complete series. You could just binge it and watch the whole thing.
Yeah, binge watch Boba Fett and then start watching Obi.
Yeah.
Obi.
Yeah, exactly. I just do them both.
Yes. Obi.
Yeah, I love that meme with like the little girl, and she's like, "Why not both?"
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
All Star Wars is good Star Wars.
I agree. But yeah, okay. So let's see. Now we're basically to the escaping. We talked a little bit about him finally kind of regaining his force and holding back the water and them escaping. Now let's talk about that big trench coat.
How did nobody see that? Looking for an old man and a kid on the base, and
And
nobody
then
sees.
Leia like looks out.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in The Last
The
Jedi,
fifth
they put
brother
a
walked
trash
right by
can
him.
over BB-8.
Oh man, I love that.
And yeah, no one saw it until Riva starts yelling.
Yeah.
A Jedi in a trench coat just starts like the start of a bad joke.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and I think another thing was so when Riva finally catches up to them, right? And then she yells traitor. You know, there's calls back also to Kylo Ren
Mm-hmm.
yelling traitor, right? And I think there is kind of
going
like
back
in
to the
all these
sequels.
episodes callbacks to like so many of the different movies. And like you kind of brought up like in the Back to Tank too, being like,
Yeah.
where's Ray? Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, you know, that
It's
they
kind of
use
connecting
that
all
same
of Star
one.
Wars. It's
Right.
kind of connecting all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've said it multiple times, but George always said it, you know, Star Wars rhymes, it's poetry.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so seeing these connections, I'm pretty sure is intended.
Mm-hmm.
They do
I mean,
an awful lot of them to not be intended.
A lot of these Disney Plus shows are just making the sequels more bearable to watch.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would say that that's what the Clone Wars did for the prequels.
That's also true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All I
true.
hear is Dave Filoni does a really good job of fixing everything, and so maybe you should just let him do it in the first place.
Yeah.
In Filoni, we trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. Okay, so then we talked a little bit about them coming in, and then Riva kills poor Wade. Dead too
Best
soon.
thing
I
to
think
use, Wade.
Everyone
it's kind
becomes
of funny.
soldiers.
Well, because was it fifth brother, or is it third brother? Whichever.
I think it was
third
fifth brother, third sister. Or was it?
Okay,
third
yeah,
brother,
yeah.
Fifth sister.
That sounds right.
And so he tells her, you know, kill them. And so she throws it at the one that she knows they're not in.
Right.
So she purposely makes it look like she tries to kill them, but she only kills Wade. She knows Obi-Wan and Leia.
Not to mention that they have a whole TIE fighter fleet just sitting there that they could just send after them.
Yeah, I saw
Right.
that too.
And so she makes sure that she doesn't kill them, and then Vader comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He's mad.
That's such a cool scene.
Yeah.
I love that. Just
Yeah, that was
stomps in.
amazing. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Anything that Vader's in has been amazing.
so we'll just
Yeah.
say this. So since we've been talking so much about Rebels, The fifth brother. He's almost more annoying in this show than he was in Rebels. I found him annoying in Rebels. And
Yeah.
and now he's like, "Oh, this is Riva's fault. This is third sister's fault. We're going to tell Vader on her."
Yeah, he did seem a little whiny, and I
Yeah.
feel like also through the different scenes, he was playing it off more like, well, they kind of all are like, oh, we're not going to do anything unless Vader says so. But I also feel like when they're in like some random planet, Vader's nowhere near. I feel like they should be the big bad evils that Riva kind of is, just randomly cutting off people's hands and you know what I mean? Just to like invoke fear in people, right? If Vader's there, obviously, like, okay, we're not going to move unless he says move. But when they're out by themselves, I feel like they should all kind of be more like Riva. And so I think that also plays along with them kind of playing like, oh, I'm not going to do it unless Vader does. But it kind of comes off as like whiny and weak a little bit.
Yeah. The Inquisitors in general just feel weak for the show, except for Riva.
I mean,
she's the strongest of them, and she still feels weak.
Yeah.
Especially in this scene.
But I feel like that's a good thing. That's you expect them to even be able to put up a fight to Vader? I don't.
No.
I didn't even expect them to put up a fight with Obi-Wan, and that's why I think it was interesting the way they did it to show him having to reconnect with the Force and stuff. That's the only way that he's even close to their level. I mean, in Rebels, Darth Maul, Old Master, swiftly does away with them in like season 2 finale. When he goes up against them, he wrecks them.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka does as well. Ahsoka does as well.
Yeah.
They don't stand a chance
does
against
as well,
them.
but Ahsoka doesn't. Ahsoka again is good and doesn't kill them.
Correct.
Maul destroys them,
yeah.
and he
Maul
doesn't leave them alive to come back again.
And so I don't picture any of these Inquisitors as any more powerful than they are in Rebels.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. And yeah, so I think just going back to that scene, you know, with him like power walking, speed walking in there.
Yes.
I feel like it was such a great scene because like once again we were kind of talking about with Avengers, like, you know, Infinity War or whatever. The cool thing is when you have legit fear of whatever the villain is. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we saw that with Vader and Obi-Wan already, like to a crazy extreme. But I love kind of seeing this now within his own ranks, because now this is his own people, you know, and like Vader's the same to anybody. He doesn't care whose side you are on. Like
he doesn't care if you're Force sensitive or not, if you're an Inquisitor or a Stormtrooper.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna keep with the Infinity War parallel, it's a lot like the scene at the start of Infinity War, where Thanos walks up and he just kills Loki. Like it's that intimidating, if not more. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. And yeah, you're right. It just the way he walks and he's just like, you could tell he's angry. He can. I like how they are able to display emotion on a character that's face never moves, never changes.
So amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of practice with that with the Mandalorian as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. And then, jumping in the chat real quick, Kalani says, do we still think the Grand Inquisitor is dead?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like he's not. Yeah.
I feel like the reason why she stabbed him in the first episode or second episode was because he's in a different story, and this is they needed to come up with a different story basically, and they wanted to tell, and so that was her just getting him out of the way of this story for this moment.
Maybe there'll be like an end credit scene where he rises, he like stands up, and
it'll be a matching end credit scene to Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well, I
That
mean,
would be
except for a lot
amazing.
more significant.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Or here's another one too. So everybody was talking about the Jedi Survivor game, and everybody's saying that he's not the survivor. Maybe it's this other person in the bacta tank that this other
The
Jedi,
Inquisitor
right?
could be in the bacta tank.
What? Yeah, just in general. What if, because now we already know that the Grand Inquisitor's in that game. So what if he is the survivor?
I mean, he's not really a Jedi, but
Well, I mean, it's more like the series is called Jedi because it's Jedi Fallen Order, and now it's
yeah, that's
Jedi
true.
Survivor. So it's not really like the Jedi
Yeah.
is the So
Yeah,
He
it-
no,
was
I
that's
think
an
that
interesting
could be
point.
possible.
That's smart.
That's
Possible.
interesting.
I could
That's an
definitely
interesting
see that
point.
being him.
That game's gonna be so fun. I'm gonna
It
start.
is.
I'm gonna start replaying Fallen Order here shortly. I was even messing around. I was messing around on testing some streaming stuff, so I was thinking about streaming a playthrough on that.
I
Mhm.
would, but my computer's so bad that it barely runs. So I would not want to stream it because the quality would just be bad. Yeah, I'm playing through it right now and I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, we have a couple more like big things we definitely need to hit. So the next thing is, who is canceling their pre-order of the Lola toy? No, Lola's evil.
Mhm.
I love.
As soon as like they flew away without anybody attacking them, I was like, there's a tracking device on that shit. Yeah.
I can't wait to see the internet getting mad at. Did Darth Vader think of that idea because Riva did it 10 years earlier?
I mean,
When
did
he
Riva
when he
think
when
of
he
that
let
idea
the
because-
Oh,
when he let the Millennium Falcon go on the Star Destroyer or the Death Star?
It's one of those Star Wars tropes, leaving a tracker device on something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I still love to see it every time it happens.
I just love the way Star Wars does symbolism, where
mhm.
obviously now Lola's not good because her eyes are red.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
they
I thought that
changed.
was awesome, and that's it. And that was going to be my second point. Is she didn't just put a tracking device on Lola? Like she turned Lola. Like Lola is
Yeah.
bad now. Like
I
it's not
wanna
like, oh,
see-
there's a little chip on her somewhere, like hidden. Like she's bad.
I want to see Lola go full Sith Lord and just start attacking them.
It has like little saws or something, just going
Yes.
crazy and trying to chop someone up.
A little taser zap like R2.
Yeah, like an R2 taser. Oh man.
That's funny. Oh,
so
yeah, definitely.
That's interesting.
Did you have another
That's
point?
one thing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Oh,
Q.
No, yeah, I was gonna say the next big thing that, since we got to kind of have a short one this week, but the next thing is we have the next, hit you right in the feels moment with Obi-Wan and Leia when Leia reaches in to hold his hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was more interesting of the fact that he held her hand back.
Yeah.
Like he reciprocated the emotions that she was displaying.
Yeah.
He
And that was also a reference as well, because she's like, you say, she says something, I forget, and then Kenobi says, "I know," and that's
yes.
call back to Leia saying, "I love you" to Han, and Han saying, "I know," which I thought was cool. There are a lot of callbacks in this episode.
Yeah, I like that too. I saw someone else mention that somewhere, and I love that. That was a really cool thing because wherever I read it, they were saying something that in the Star Wars universe, "I know" means "I love you," and so
Yes.
basically Obi-Wan was telling her that he loved her. That is a pretty cool point.
Yeah.
So that's kind of talking about that scene with Leia is kind of the point I was trying to make. We kind of skipped over this a little bit, but how great was Leia's acting in this episode? Even when they first show her and she's so authoritative. My father's Baylor Ghana, a senator. I am the princess of Alderaan.
Yeah,
Like just
I
with
love
that
that.
authority.
no.
But then
And
and
go
later
ahead.
on when she goes to get tortured, she is showing genuine fear. You know, she goes
Yeah.
from being this authoritative individual to genuinely being afraid for her life in that moment.
But still not
was-
giving any information.
Incredible
Yeah.
acting out of that little
What
girl.
what I
love when
liked.
Riva interrogates her. When
Yeah, you don't have rights here, princess.
but
Calling her the
I love
princess.
how she like pretends to break down.
Mhm.
I thought she was actually breaking down, if I'm gonna be honest.
I thought one thing I like when Riva tries to do the whole Kylo thing, the reach into your mind,
Yes.
and she goes, because you could tell she's fighting it, but she's like,
Are
"Is
Are you
this a
having
staring contest?"
I know
It's like,
that was so awesome.
she's obviously blocking her with the Force,
Mm-hmm.
and yet she's still witty.
Mhm.
Are we having a
That was
staring
so good.
contest? But to Preston's point there about um, her breaking down, but then she's like, "Well, I got to tell my dad first,"
Yeah.
and she's like, because yeah, if they get Belle there and everything, this is gonna not be good for the
Mhm.
galaxy, for the Inquisitors themselves at least. Because if they get
Mhm.
caught doing this stuff and the Senate finds out, and it's just not going to be good look for the galaxy, and it might even cause more rebellion sooner.
Yeah, for sure. And because we all know about Palpatine, well, Sidious, I am the Senate.
That was pretty
That was pretty
good.
good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there anything else that was jumping out at you, Preston, that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, it's cool that staring contests are part of Star Wars canon now.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yes, they do that. In a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away.
I just wanted, I wanted to say that a lot of there's a lot of negative reactions to this episode, and I honestly don't understand most of it. I'd say the only ways you can make it better are more backstory for Riva and more backstory for Wade and all of them.
Yeah.
Other than that, the episode was just a super fun thrill ride, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I do like the episode. When I first went into the episode, I was expecting something different, and that's why I had to fight, and I have to just engage with the story, and that's why. But I like a lot of the stuff. There's a lot of good Easter eggs too. There's a lot of stuff to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
You're watching the episode and you're like, "Hey, do you want help? I can help you." I've been there before.
Yeah.
So
I also
it was.
I love how they sneak in the same, like Kenobi sneaks in the same exact way that Cal went in, and they didn't like block that at all after he snuck in.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That is pretty funny. I wonder who did it first, because there's no really timeline given.
I think Fallen Order is before Kenobi.
I think you're right. I think that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look it up, but I think you're right.
I feel like that's right. Yeah, that seems right.
I looked it up and it says it's set 5 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
Okay.
perfect. That's what I was kind of thinking. I was like, I feel like that, yeah, Jedi Fallen Order was a lot closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it's been 5 years and you haven't figured out how to stop people from getting into the facility?
Which would make sense if the Inquisitor is in the new game, the Grand Inquisitor, because I think the new game's supposed to be taking place like 4 or 5 years after the first game, which would be right about this time.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. That's interesting.
I mean, there's no way we'd see it, but it would be cool if we saw like an appearance of Kenobi in Fallen Order 2.
Right?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, even like
but
because even if they had like some
Just
sort
like
of
a
story
mention.
arc that he was around or something happened, and
yeah,
like that would be pretty cool. Or even if
Come on, we can
like
get a mission to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan would tell him to go bury his lightsaber in the sand.
It's like, what are you doing? Oh man. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I think that's we probably start wrapping up a little bit now. But it was definitely a shorter episode of Kenobi, and then as well as this one, especially since we had Preston here with us, which was super awesome. But yeah, as far as wrapping up, once again, we'd like to give a special thanks to Preston for being with us today. He's super awesome dude. I got to know him a little bit before the podcast, but now he is a full-on member of the Jedi Council here and is welcome back anytime. As far as getting to know him, we're going to have all of his links and his links to his podcast down below. Definitely check it out if you're into anything Nintendo. It's definitely some pretty funny and great content. So I think you'll definitely enjoy it, as well as all of us as well. All of our links are on the screen or down below. Check us out. But yeah, Preston, super huge thank you for being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on, because I had a blast just chatting Star Wars with you guys, and I'd love to come on again.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, Josiah, there. I think it's time you unveil the winner.
Okay. All right. So, as many of you all know, we were also running our very first giveaway for getting to 100 subscribers, and we have not only reached it, but we have went above and beyond. We are now currently, as I'm looking at it, 107 subscribers. So that is huge. We would like to thank each and every one of you for subscribing, for supporting us, and for being with us on this crazy journey and talking about Star Wars with a couple of nerds like us. So yeah, definitely huge thank you for that. And without further ado, the winner of any Star Wars game on any platform is our good friend and huge supporter of the channel, Togo Bap. So Bruce, aka Togo Bap, you are the winner. We have reached out in DMs to him before the show when we drew this, and he had an amazing choice for his game. He is going to get the KOTOR show, the KOTOR episode. The KOTOR remake that's coming out to PS5. So as soon as that comes out, we are going to get that for him. So
the Knights of Republic remake.
Congrats to Bruce.
Yeah.
Congrats to Bruce.
Yeah, super exciting that it was him. He's such a great supporter of the channel. So when I drew him, we are super excited to give it to a great guy like Bruce. So let's see, is there anything else that we need to talk about?
Join the Discord. We just talk Star Wars, you can have more discussions there. And yeah, you can support us on Patreon. And I just wanted to give a heads up. Next week will be a bit of a different episode. We got some things going on, so we're going to be pre-recording it, but it still will air on Monday as usual.
Yeah, and then I guess since we kind of had a consensus early before, and Preston got to hear this, our next giveaway is going to be at 250 subscribers, and it is a to be announced Star Wars Lego set. We're kind of busy deciding which one is going to be the coolest and best one. But at 250 subscribers, that'll be our next giveaway. And so that's going to be basically starting now. So.
Yep.
All right, guys. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
May the Force be with you.